The reason a lot of Amazon resellers in 2026 are unsuccessful is because they follow the wrong strategy. They all go after the bright light, the shiny object, and they all fail together. Now, one of the methods that I've had the most success with is the high ROI regardless of the sales strategy. So basically what this means, I go for ultra high ROI. Now, I really adopted this type of strategy and I sourced these types of products in November and December. And in this year, my first 27 days, the results are awesome. Just check them out.
Loving these high ROI products.
Now, you'll notice a lot of 500% ROI, 400% ROI products, 300% ROI products. If you look at this whole page on Sellerboard, you'll notice that every single SKU here has over 100% ROI. That's over 50 SKUs with more than 100% ROI. And they get sales too. It's not as if they only sell 1 or 2 units. They sell a lot. Some of them sell quite a few units. In this video, I'll break down how to do this strategy correctly. I'll tell you the mistakes a lot of Amazon sellers are making, and I'll tell you why this strategy actually works. So let's jump into it. On your screen now, you see some of the categories that are viable for this strategy. Now, where is the problem? The issue is that most resellers at the moment, they're focusing on the top 50,000 products within each of these categories. Now, why is that an issue? Because a lot of the bigger sellers, those massive sellers out there with 200, 300, 400,000 reviews are also looking at these products first. And guess what? Those massive sellers get massive discounts as well, which leaves the rest of us in a hard position. We might find some profit on these products momentarily, but sooner or later they'll come in, they'll drop the price to where it's comfortable for them, and they'll dominate all the sales, and we'll be left with nothing, and maybe even have to take a loss on some of our ASINs. If you're only focusing on the top 50,000 products in each of these categories, you're limiting yourself to only 850,000 viable products. What if you shifted your focus and looked at all the products up to 500,000 BSR? That's 450,000 times 17 categories. That's over 7.5 million products that you're opening yourself up to. Now, a lot of people think that they don't sell. That's wrong. They do sell in decent volume. Of course, different categories have different types of sales according to their BSR. For example, 100K in automotive is not the same as 100K in health and household. I know that. I get that. Even a product that only sells 5 or 10 units a month, if the profit is $20 or $30, you're making a few $100s per month anyway on that one SKU. What if you had 50 SKUs making that type of money? What if they all had 100% ROI plus? That is the way that this strategy works. That's why you target these types of products. The reason we're going after these products with a higher BSR is because there's very little competition compared to the other ones. Where the other ones might have 10 or 15 FBA sellers, some of these might have only 2 FBA sellers, 1 FBA sellers, or no FBA sellers. Some might be dominated by FBM only, as some might have no sellers entirely, but there was some past history that indicated that there were sales in this ASIN in the recent history, of course. So that's why these are such good opportunities. A lot of times there's only FBM sellers. You jump on as the only FBA seller. You can price above them and dominate the ASINs. Before I actually perform the strategy live, I want to talk about these categories for a moment. Now, look at all these categories: appliances, automotive, beauty and personal care, industrial and scientific, patio, sports and outdoors, everything. Okay. Now, the ones that I want to kind of segment for a moment is beauty and personal care and groceries and gourmet food. And I'll get back to those in a second. Now, all the other categories, what you're going after are the products that are kind of expensive to buy, but sell for a much higher price. So if you can find an appliance, for example, or sports and outdoor product that's 20 or 30 bucks and it sells for 60 or 70, those are the products that you really want to focus on, even if they only sell 5 or 10 units a month, because that's going to translate into a nice chunk of profit. Now, going back to beauty and personal care and groceries and gourmet food. Now, you'll find a lot of those products, especially within groceries, that are very cheap. You might find a lot of products that sell for $2 or $3, and you buy them for $2 or $3 and they sell for like $10. You might find a lot of them that have very low BSR and sell in high volume. Those aren't the ones we're going after. You want to go after the multi-packs in those sections. So let's say, for example, you have a product that you buy for $3 and you sell for $10. Now, after the referral fee, the FBA fee, the convenience fee, or the placement fee, you're left with $1 profit. Not that nice, right? You buy it for $3, spend your money on prep, and you get $1 profit. Not very special because you're selling it for $10. Now, what if that same product was a 12 pack? Okay. Now, logically, if a 1 pack is $10, a 12 pack will be $120. But obviously, you don't want to do that because you need to entice the buyer to actually pay for it. Why would they buy a 12 pack? Because they get a small discount. So let's say you price that 12 pack, instead of pricing it at $120, you're pricing it at $99. Great. Now, essentially, what's going on in this case? When you're selling a 12 pack, and it sells 10 units a month, you're not selling 10 units a month, you're selling 120 units a month. That product essentially sells 120 units a month. That's how many you're buying from your supplier, that's how many you're selling, 120 units, even though it only sells 10 units a month on Amazon. Now, what happens with a 12 pack? You buy each unit for $3. It's a $36 purchase as a 12 pack. Now, the FBA fees on the 1 pack may have been $3.50. But the FBA fee doesn't multiply by 12 when you're going to be selling it as a 12 pack. The FBA fee might reach $8, $9, $10. Let's say for this example that it's $15. Now break down that $100 product. $100 minus the 15% referral fee, we're down to $85. Let's minus another, let's say $20 for the FBA fees. So that makes us $65. Now it only costs us $36 to source it. We paid $36 to source this product. So after all that, we're left with almost $30 profit for the one ASIN that's sold, one unit of that ASIN that's sold. You sold 12 of them in one go. So that's why this type of strategy really works. It's awesome for multi-packs. It's very, very good for multi-packs. You know, it might only sell 10, 15, 20 units a month, and you might only sell a few, but that's fine because it works very well, especially when you're looking at multi-packs. Next comes my favorite part, which is actually analyzing the tools and performing the strategy live. Of course, I'm going to do it with Astro Advanced Analytics. Astro is an all-in-one tool. If I didn't use Astro to do this, I'd probably need at least 3 or 4 different tools to do it. I'd probably need a scanner, a profit calculator, something with the charts and all the offers. I'd have to visit all the ASINs one by one. It would probably take me around 5 to 10 hours. I'm going to start performing this strategy now, and you'll see how fast it takes. It usually takes around 5 to 10 minutes. So let's jump into it. You have all the product data in here. When you hover over, you can see all the images, anything you might need to see. If you want to see charts and offers, you can click over here and you can see all the offers and the charts on every single ASIN, all the data points you need. There's probably around 150 to 250 different data points per ASIN here. If you need to see charts, you can just click on this button here. You see all the chart data and everything you need to see. Let's find one with a bit more volume. For example, over here, this one sells a bit better. Let's just click on this one and you can see all the data you need to see here. You can see every point of information. You can see the sellers, everything basically. All right, so let's get started. Now the filters that I like to do, I like to go to these preset filters over here. There's all these, you know, you can save your own filters of course, but there's a list of preset filters. Now I like going for the low sales, high ROI strategy just there. I like to click on that and just apply these filters. So notice we started with 1,900 products and all of a sudden in an instant, we've got 16 ASINs that meet that criteria, that have high ROI, a decent amount of sales. I'm not talking about crazy sales. The filter here says that they have more than 5 sales per month. So these products, we instantly found them. Now, what you want to do, you want to check these products individually one by one to see, you know, all the data, make sure it all makes sense. There's no IP alerts. There's no products that might put your account at risk. So you want to go over all these types of products. We have the Astro score here. It's a score from 1 to 5. You want to look at that as well. You want to make sure there's not too much Amazon. Sometimes it kind of makes sense going up against Amazon, but you know, most times it doesn't. That's a whole different conversation. We can have it in another video, but these are the ones we're going to focus on now. So quite simple. What we're going to do is I'm going to grab them all. I'm going to send them to a short list. So I'm going to go add favorites. I'm going to create a new shortlist. I'm going to call it high ROI. I'm going to add it, and we're going to add all these products to that shortlist. All right, so let's go over to the shortlist now. I'm just going to go click on the shortlists over here. You see the shortlists are right here in the favorites list. And here's that list over here. And here are our products, and let's see if we can form an order. Now, what I'm seeing from this is that all these here, I can either sell most of these over here, and these ones over here, I need to request approval. So I need to look at that individually, see if I can actually get ungated for those or not. But regardless of that, these are the products. So I have to go over these one by one. So we have a Bosch product here, for example, 27 pieces. We have to make sure it's the right product. We have to go over all that type of data. But what I see here, it's got $16.54 worth of profit at 70% ROI. If I go over all the data, we can see there are 3 FBM sellers. Now, I sell FBA. 99% of my sales are FBA, so I can kind of ignore the FBM sellers. I can price a bit above them and make more money that way. So if I was going to be selling this product, I wouldn't be going at $52.85. I'll probably try to sell it around 57, let's say $57.99. So that means there's a bit more profit in this product, $20 at 89% ROI. In terms of how many I would buy, I'd probably buy between 6 and 12 units. So if I was to buy 6 or maybe 12 units of this one, they'll probably take around 2 months to sell off. So what that means, there's an order forming at the top. I'm buying $275 worth of goods and the potential profit is going to be that much. So that's the way I would actually start looking at every single ace in here. I can see how many sellers there are. If I click on the chart here, for example, I can see the sellers right over here and I can see how many units they have, their stock, all their names, what percentage of the buy box they're winning. I can see all that information instantly. So I can make a decision. Now I'm going to go through them one by one, check how many I should be buying and make an educated decision. Now I'm not going to do that whole part at the moment, but that would literally take around 5 to 10 minutes, but I can apply the quantity to everything. I can apply, let's just say I'm going to buy 12 units of every single thing here. So I'm just going to go ahead and say buy 12 of all of these. And now I've basically formed my order. That's how much the good's going to cost and the profit is there. Now, when I'm happy with these, I just download the data as a purchase order, send that off to my supplier, and I'm ready to go. I can go ahead and buy these. So that's what targeting high ROI with even lower sales means. You can find products so much faster using this tool, of course, but you can find a lot of these products that can make a lot of high ROIs. So if I was to sort by ROI high to low, you can see, 126%, 170%, all these different numbers. Now, what I would ideally do is I would go out, reach out to my supplier and try to get these at a discount. I'll say, hey, I'm coming up to you with a $5,000 order. Are you able to give me a 10% discount, for example? That's what I'd be going for. So just to review this strategy, we're going after the high ROI, low competition products. We don't want products that sell thousands and thousands of units a month because they tend to have a lot of competition. I'm not saying to avoid them entirely, but in most cases, they'll have a lot of competition and your ROI will be dropping. You'll have to constantly undercut your competition and you'll have a loss. We're going after the very high ROI, very low competition products. Sometimes we're going up against FBM sellers only. Sometimes there's only one FBA seller. Sometimes there are no sellers. Multi-packs work real well because you're not just selling one unit. If you're selling a 24 pack, for example, you're selling 24 units. So a 10 units, per month is actually like selling 240 units per month. That's the way you got to think about multi-packs. So we're going after all these different types of products. Now, just to let you know, the results that I showed you earlier, that I showed you with a 500% ROI, 400% ROI from my first 27 days of this year, those were made from only 5 suppliers. Now, 2 of which did not even offer a discount. There were no discounts offered on those products. I had to get them at the value that they show them on their website. So 0 discounts. But if you can negotiate for discounts, if you have some capital and you can actually go hard at discounts, imagine how much better this strategy can actually become, how much more money you can make if you throw discounts at these types of products. So that's the way this strategy works as a whole. It's very, very viable. If you focus on the top 50K BSR of each category, 17 different categories that I showed you earlier, that's only around 850,000 products in your total range of products that you can actually source from. A lot of competition. When you focus on the other ones as well, you're opening yourself up to more than 7.5 million viable products that you can be selling. That's the way it works. I hope you got value out of this video. If you did, please like and subscribe. I want you guys to leave any comments that you have in the comment section below. Check out the description for a link to the Telegram group where we're always chatting about these types of strategies and our wins. And if you want to have access to Astro Advanced Analytics, that's also in the description below. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thank you. Bye-bye.